The following was recorded during the COVID-19 pandemic through Zoom meetings in accordance with local health guidelines. Hi, I'm Mike Maloney, and welcome to another CSRM podcast. Today's episode is hosted by Dr. Greg Linville.
Hi, welcome back to another podcast with CSRM, and today I'm just surrounded by people that I love, and we've had some really fun and good times through the years, and we're taking the time today to help you understand some new resourcing that is occurring because of what God has been leading us on. And we're calling it Overwhelming Victory Radio. And it's a series of podcasts and other kind of audio and video ways of providing resources for you, the local church sports minister, or maybe volunteer in that ministry. And we're surrounding ourselves not only with these good people, but with these ideas and literally decades worth of wisdom. So let me just introduce people that are on this today with us. I'll start with Dave Waddell. Dave is our current executive director and is a professor at Ole Miss. David, welcome.
Good to be here. Thank you, Greg.
And Dan Stouffer, who is our executive director to be, and this transition we're going to talk a little bit about, but Dan has been a pastor at, I think, maybe 3 or 4 churches and was doing some sports ministry early on in his career. And Dan is currently planting a church as well as moving into our executive director role. Dan, welcome. And I think Dan's muted there, but we can imagine that. Go ahead, Dan.
Off to a great start here, Greg. Thanks so much for having me here this morning. I'm excited to be a part.
Yeah, we're live, that's for sure. And then we have Andrew Fouts, and Andrew is our technician. He's the guy that's making a lot of the whistles and bells go. He's also pastored. He's also done sports ministry. And Andrew is now helping us with Overwhelming Victory Radio. Welcome, Andrew.
Good to be here.
And then we come to our marriage mentors as well. So the McDowells, you guys are involved in lots of different ministries, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But thanks for taking time out of your day, and welcome to this edition of the CSRM podcast.
Thanks for having us, Greg.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to have you. And obviously, last but certainly not least, John Longworth. And John has been a longtime sports and rec director. We just celebrated his 20th anniversary in that role at a very prominent church in Memphis. And John was our former board chair of CSRM. John, welcome.
Thanks, Greg. Good to be with you.
Yep. So all these people are on today because they're going to be part of the Overwhelming Victory Radio. And we're going to explain that in just a minute. But I'd like to talk with David and Dan a little bit to start us off and help us understand the transition that CSRM is in. David, what's happening?
Well, 3 years ago, the board selected me as an interim chair after my predecessor had resigned, and shortly thereafter, the board then selected me as an executive director. And realizing that I'm at the end of my days with the gray beard showing, I tasked the board with the opportunity to find the next generation, the next person to step in. John Longworth was a part of that team that did the search and discovered Dan Stouffer. And Dan came to us with high recommendations and some unbelievable and uncanny abilities. And so we have set up this year of 2020 through 2021 as a transition year. So he's technically the associate executive director, but in September, the mantle will be passed on to him. And I've shared with him the joy of this is that every place I've ever left a leadership position has gotten better after I took off. I'm sure that's because of how well I trained them and not the fact that they just blossom beyond me. That's my story anyway, and I'm sticking with it. But Dan's a sharp guy, and I look forward to where CSRM goes in the future under his watch.
And David, what are you going to do after you stop being the executive director?
Well, Dan has already swindled me into a position called academic liaison. And so I will be working with other colleges and universities that offer classes or degree programs in sports, recreation, or fitness ministries, and trying to just build a coalition with them.
Will there also be some certification happening with that?
That's a part of the academic liaison will be a revised certification program. We're going to try and put a little boost into our Agone Institute, where we offer classes for master level credit. That will be all involved in this as well.
So those of you that are looking for either degrees in this or some official certification, Dave's going to be your man in the near future. And Dave, you served very faithfully, and you've taken CSRM through some transition's always difficult. It's not like we were fighting with each other or anything, but it just needed some steering, and you put your hand on that steering wheel and just drove us. And John would quickly say maybe drove us crazy, but you drove us where we needed to get to. And you've done a fabulous job with that. I can't thank you enough.
We were making good time, so I just kept driving.
There you go. And Dan, you're coming on, and tell us about that. What's happening?
Yeah, well, I think the best way to have a transition is exactly how we've done it, which is nice and slow. And if it works out, bringing someone on who's already on staff internally, which I have been with CSRM, with our church relations. And, David he's very humble with what he just shared, but David is a great leader. And anytime you can help, and for any organization in that interim period, during a pivotal interim period, that really helps set up the organization long term. And David has done just that. So I've been thankful to be a part of that, thankful for the support of the board. And we're just excited. What I love about CSRM is that we're about the local church. All of us on this call, we love the local church. We love Jesus, of course. And we just want to equip the local church to change lives through church, sports, and recreation ministries. So I don't see a lot of that changing. That's been the foundation of CSRM. I'm excited about that. And what I love about this group here, and just kind of my role with it, is no one understands a pastor or a minister like a minister. We're all doing that. So we understand this world that we're trying to minister to. And I'm just excited to keep things moving forward.
Well, we're looking forward to it. And you're a bold man that you're coming on in this role with two former executive directors still working. But it's really fun. We're seeing some really good progress being made. So appreciate your spirit, and we're going to get back to both of you guys in a little while to hear some of how you're actually being part of this Overwhelming Victory Radio. I should say that we have a lot of OVs, Overwhelming Victory, and we have the Overwhelming Victory Press, which is our publishing house. We've got 10 or 11 books now that are in publication that have been released, and most of them are on a Kindle fashion, as well as the hard copy. That the Overwhelming Victory Press also includes blogs that probably go back 10 years. I believe we're into the thousands of blogs at this point, lots of different topics. And then the OVF, the Overwhelming Victory Flix, Flix, the Overwhelming Victory Flix. This is what you're hearing the podcast on. And then the training sessions and all that we do for the Agone Institute for our master's program there. And now we're getting into the Overwhelming Victory Radio, and this is these podcasts. And Andrew, as you're the guy that's directing that for us, again, welcome, but give us a little bit of your vision for the Overwhelming Victory Radio and what we're going to hear from these other people as we go forward.
Yeah, so 2020 was a strange year for everybody, especially ministries that suddenly went from their whole identity was wrapped around community and meeting together, and then suddenly we weren't allowed to come together. And so you and I and David and Dan, we all had kind of talked a little bit about how is CSRM going to be able to navigate this. This is an area where churches are needing somebody to come alongside them, which is the whole point of what CSRM does, is come alongside to train and equip. And so it started out with Greg, you and I think John, you were on the first one of our COVID conversations of just ministers getting together to basically just to come together through Zoom and just talk and record and see what kind of conversations came out of that. And as we were doing that, we started to see that people were responding very well to it. People were enjoying the fact that there was at least, once a week, once a month where they could come together with other ministers just to talk and to vent and to share. And as we were watching this progress, we realized, this is a good opportunity for us to be able to actually reach into this kind of untapped potential that we started when we started the CSRM podcast a few years ago, of providing people with a resource that they can listen to in the car, that they can watch when they're stuck at home in quarantine, but that can provide a larger audience and a larger amount of resources than just the CSRM podcast is able to. And so we started talking to some people. We started looking around. We started getting some ideas from other people that were kind of doing something similar, but not quite, and definitely not for the sports ministry market. And we started talking with people like Dwight and Angela. We started converting some things with the Tuesday talks. We started talking with Jamie Balcom, all of this different stuff, to realize that we have a lot of resources within the CSRM family that we need to be able to get out and share with churches and with the world. And so we decided to come up with this network opportunity for people to be able to record their thoughts, whether video and audio, or audio only. And for us to be a center point, a library for people to be able to come and gather up the knowledge that we have here and just be able to soak it in a different way. And so out of that came the Overwhelming Victory Radio Network. And we've been teasing it since about this time last year, but it's been up and running since January, and so far it seems like you all are actually enjoying listening. So that's kind of where we've gone, and we're trying to expand that out a little bit, expand the amount of resources we can offer, and that's what we're going to talk about here shortly.
And so part of our overall is we're talking about a few things here, and in just a minute we'll hear from Dwight and Angela, and we're gonna maybe have the first reaction to be, well, maybe that's not sports ministry, but the sports minister has to deal with these kinds of things that each one of these different podcasts are going to be dealing with, and so we're going to talk about this, about how each of these can help a sports minister in a particular area of their life, because we really believe in equipping the sports minister holistically. And we found that you can go on the internet and get pretty much any league that you want to run. You get something there. But it's that mentoring, it's that thing that nobody has written a book on, but somebody has experienced it, that we're trying to help people understand. In the last couple minutes, Dwight and Angela, I want to turn to you. And Dwight, you are the current chair of the CSRM board and speak into what you've heard so far and about the transition and OVR. Help us understand from the board's perspective about how you see this and what you're thinking.
First of all, thank you for having me and allowing me to share. The board, as a board member, I get a chance to hear all the things that take place and make us kind of move forward. But when I accepted the position of executive chair, it gave me a position to not only be a part of hearing it, and you can kind of sit back sometime, but as executive chair, you got to be a part of sometimes coming up with new solutions to help us get where we're trying to go according to the vision. So that's given me a chance to do that. I've had a chance to work with the current executive director, like Dave, for quite a while, back and forth. He and I meet weekly, 15 or 20 minutes, and just trying to, because this is such a large organization, we get together and I just pray. We pray for one another, but my main focus is to, try to carry that weight. And that's on his shoulder. Now I'm made up of the executive committee of two others, makes three of us, Narain and also Derek, who have been current board members before, but they are amazing when it comes to creative ideas and creative ways to try to help us fulfill the vision. Going forward, we will be working with Dan, our new executive director, and usually we try to keep him in the loop already. And it's like the partnership and the marriage itself, it's just moving so smoothly. Some days it almost shakes me that I can share some things with David, he can share them with Dan, and then when Dan and I talk, it's like, oh yeah, let's go, man, let's roll forward. And so, and I believe that's when we get to where we are, like we're doing now, that we can be of one mind, one heartbeat, even when we're not in the same place, but we're thinking CSRM vision, not the small area, but the whole picture. And I'll say that my wife being, so to say, when you marry in or when you get into the CSRM and you start the board, we kind of go together. And I explain that to my wife, we're a team. And so sometimes she'll give me some ideas, or I'll share little things that with her from the board. And she's like, man, that is some heavy stuff. That's some good stuff. So that means that it's clicking on all cylinders. Now, not taking any credit for that. It just giving God all the glory for it, of how when we all line up and are going the exact same way of the vision and of what God's will is. And so with being the executive chair, it just gives me a chance to see all that, be a part of it. Also, look forward to whether we need to be a part of meeting less, meeting more, how we can build a tighter relationship between the board members so that we can serve the multitudes of people that's connected to CSRM.
Well, we're certainly grateful for your leadership as that board chair. And this is the second time on the board for you.
It is.
And you mentioned something that CSRM is fairly unique in, is that while we have 12 positions on our board, sometimes we'll have 15 or 18 board members. Well, how does that work? Because there's marriages. And because we believe in marriage, we believe that you can serve together as one, as a board member and we've had a number of couples that are our board members. And no, you don't get two votes. You only get one vote on anything that the board votes on. And we do offer marital counseling for those that disagree on that vote. But we thank both of you guys for doing that. And it's a unique thing for CSRM. We're going to come back here in just a few minutes. And Dwight and Angela, we're going to start with you. We would like you to tell us a little bit about your podcast, what the Marriage Map is, and the whole mentoring ideas that you have. And we're going to help people understand your podcast and how it helps the sports minister be better at what they do. And one of the things we found is that the more successful that a couple's marriage is, their ministry is more successful. They go together hand in hand. It's tough to have that ministry going forward when things at home aren't working well, and vice versa. So we're looking forward to hearing from you on that. And so come back, join us for the next segment. You're going to start to hear about these different podcasts that are going to help you as a sports minister do a little better job, understand something a little deeper, have a deeper faith in Christ, a deeper relationship with Him, and a better way of going and reaching those who are far from Him and His church. So we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes here live, but you're going to hear or see it next week, probably, or listen to it on our podcast. So thanks for joining in.
The CSRM podcast is a production of the Association of Church Sports and Recreation Ministers and their video production house, Overwhelming Victory Flix. Dr. Greg Linville is the executive producer, and Andrew Fouts is associate producer and editor. For more information about CSRM, visit csrm.org. For more information about Overwhelming Victory, visit overwhelmingvictory.org. The CSRM podcast is the flagship member of a new podcast network called Overwhelming Victory Radio. For more information on Overwhelming Victory Radio or to listen to our partner podcasts, visit overwhelmingvictory.org/OV Radio. For CSRM Podcasts, I'm Mike Maloney. Have a blessed day.